What was going on? What are the kind of challenges you were going through when you were living with your auntie?
Much as they fed it to the world that taken me in, and I was part of them, because as I've introduced myself, I said I'm Anne Wanjiru Kamau, right?
Yeah.
My name should be Anne Nduko Motonga, far as I know. That change of name was needed because they needed me as part of them, as their daughter. And they passed it on often in social gatherings, oh, this is our daughter. And people would also question them back, like, hey, how come she just popped up, you know, out of the blues? And there was never a good enough explanation. She beats me so bad. At one point, she's stepping on me at the corner of the wall, and you know, I want to think I must have done something that deserved that anger, but I can't still make sense of it up until now. All I remember is her son stopping her, and in his words, "Mami unamuua." But then nilikuwa at my worst. Mimi nilikuwa naona nitakufa. If there were lows I felt ni time, because kusema kweli nani angenisaidia?
We are not even sure how old I am.
Yes.
So any reference to my age is superficial.
Yeah.
Because they made up my papers. Even when they were imposing those names of, because I took up their familial names, when they were doing that, how they based my age was as a reference to the youngest of their children. It was, oh, in comparison to so and so, you look like you could be this age. My entire journey, or the entire time I'm living my life away from them, I kept thinking, oh, auntie said I'll die of HIV in a public hospital and she wouldn't come see me. Now, the entirety of my living is trying to think, I have to prove her wrong. That can't happen. But much as I want to prove her wrong, it hurts so bad, because why would she take me in to put me through all that pain? Or So I did those drugs, and I wasn't proud of it. Matter of fact, if I remember that young girl I was, or those dreams I had, I always wanted a whole different life as to what I came to live, to be honest. I wish I could say different, mostly because I feel disappointed in self. Very much. I feel like I've veered so far from who I wanted to be. So far, honey. I don't even know whether there's still that better day for me, because I had dreams, I had aspirations. Yeah, and things like maybe seeing my siblings again, because they're out there. Maybe, I don't know if all of them are still alive, or, well, I know for sure not all of them are alive, because 2 of them passed on, and in the course of my living, and you'd just be told, oh, Irene alikufa, it isn't your picture, you know, or and who will tell you this?
Auntie. I think when she attended the burial to that sister, Irene, it was just, Wanjiru alikufa, tulimzika. And I wondered, did it ever cross your mind I would have wanted to be there? Yeah, so such factors not being normal yet, unfortunately can't say I'm free of drugs, because there are times I honestly feel like I'm running out of my mind. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Paris Budia TV. My name is Kenda Rispa, and today
I'm here with a very beautiful lady who has a story yenye atakuwa anatupatia leo. You already know at Paris Buddha TV, we go over and beyond to bring you stories that enlighten you, educate you, and also entertain you. And today, without forgetting our sponsors, Timeless Medical Spa. They are located at Lavington Mall, 6th floor. If you have issues with your skin, if you want to learn how to take care of your skin, call them, tutaweka namba yao pale chini, get in touch with them and you will be sorted. And with no further ado, let's get to our video. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Fine, you?
I'm good. Welcome to Paris Buddha TV.
Thank you so much.
I would want you to look at this camera and tell the viewers your name and where you grew up.
Hi everyone, my name is Anne Wanjiro Kamau. I was born in Nairobi. I grew up in Mombasa. Yeah.
You were born in a family of how many children? And where are you ranked?
I was born in a family of 6 in Nairobi, as I've mentioned. I was last of those 6.
Yeah.
Yes, we had 3 girls and 3 boys, far as I know. Yeah.
Nice. How was your upbringing? How was the relationship with your parents and your siblings?
To be very frank, my childhood isn't something I remember so vividly because, well, I can't even explain that. The much I can give is that I was born in that family of 6, and the much I remember is being taken up by my aunt and uncle. That is after my parents passed on. So that part where my kids and I grew up, not so clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
At what age did you lose your parents?
I'd be lying if I tell you I remember. I think it's part reason why I don't remember the details. I must have been very young. It was before school and everything.
So after your parents passed on, your auntie?
Yes, the sister to my mom.
Okay. You went to live with them?
Yes, she lived in Nairobi. I mean in Mombasa with her family. Yeah.
So you moved to Mombasa?
No, we were born in Nairobi, so our family was in Nairobi.
Okay.
I was taken in by my aunt who stayed in Mombasa.
So you moved with them to Mombasa?
Yes.
For how long did you stay in Mombasa?
Now, hey, I think they took me in before school, right? And they raised me up until 19.
Okay.
So I stayed in Mombasa until 14, which is where you do your grade 8, yeah? And then I did my high school in Thika, Katondo.
Okay.
So I came back this ends again, yeah.
All right. So how would you describe your childhood after you moved in with your auntie?
I remember her, of course, bringing me to Mombasa and introducing me to the other siblings, of which we were not very well acquainted. They had just taken me in. I'd say on their part, they tried to integrate me as part of them.
Yeah.
They did the usuals, the school and all. Just, I could also say, because I remember my elder siblings, her name is Elizabeth. I have a memory of her coming to Mombasa and me crying so much that she takes me with her instead of leaving me behind. So I feel like even as a child, there has to have been things that were going on that made me feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since you did not have like a good relationship with your biological siblings, what happened when you got there and your auntie has kids? How was the relationship with your cousins?
After they took me in, I don't remember who or how old the oldest of my siblings were. I just remember Anthony, his name is Anthony, he would be the firstborn male, yeah? I remember Anthony, Elizabeth and Irene coming down at some point in my life to come and visit their young sister.
Okay.
And that's one of those episodes I tell you where I beg my sister not to leave me behind, but then she explains that I have to stay because things are not okay wherever they are. And yeah, I'm in better hands and there's a better chance for my future with my aunt But now, at some point, they completely disappear. Like, while I'm still a kid, they stop coming down. There's no explanation. Life goes on. And I have to now live my new reality, which is my aunt and uncles, family. Yeah.
So clearly you are begging your sisters for you to go with them.
Yes.
That means you are not
okay. Per se, yeah.
What was going on? What are the kind of challenges you were going through when you were living with your auntie?
Unfortunately, much as they fed it to the world that taken me in, and I was part of them, because as I've introduced myself, I said I'm Anne Wanjiru Kamau, right?
Yeah.
My name should be Anne Nduko Motonga, far as I know. That change of name was needed because they needed me as part of them, as their daughter. And they passed it on often in social gatherings, oh, this is our daughter. And people would also question them back, like, hey, how come she just popped up, you know, out of the blues? And there was never a good enough explanation. But then even outsiders could tell there was disparity in how maybe I dressed, how I was treated. You know, the times, often, these treatments that I'd view as unfair to me would happen in closed doors, or not where everybody was seeing. But then there are moments where something could happen, and a reaction, and somebody would take note of, hey, is everything okay? So people could tell, and they'd question. That's when they'd question, is this really your daughter? And once again came that answer, yeah, she's our daughter, the last one. But now my struggles were, my aunt was very harsh, super harsh. And I don't know whether that's how bad it should be, that when a child does something.
It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it should be so bad that they are so bad of insults, you know, Shetani, Malaya. I know that young, I didn't even get what she was going at or why she was calling me that per se. And there would be mistakes, like maybe I went out to do homework with the neighbor and I came, which she was very much aware of, yeah. There's a child we grew up next to. His name is Almasi. We did plenty of homework together, and that was common knowledge. So I'd come from there, and she's very much aware that I came from Almasi's, but that's the beating I'd be getting. It just didn't make sense. Often the things that I did and the punishment, it didn't make sense. And so very early on, I knew I was not their own. I knew my place.
Let me ask you, your auntie had her own kids.
Yes.
How was she treating her own kids? Was it the same as you? Was she harsh to all of you, or just you?
As I've grown up, the things I've tried to make sense of, maybe justify, or I don't know, no. Yeah, because it hurts. It hurts. To not make sense of it hurts more. I tried view it as maybe she didn't understand me, maybe I was difficult. On my part, I know I tried so hard to please them, more so because I knew my chances were bad if I didn't get through the system.
Which was one situation you found yourself in when you were living with your auntie, and it was like, I cannot live here anymore?
Wow. So, as I grew up, of course a lot happened. The mistreating was there. Maybe come time to buy clothes, she'd buy different for her daughter and me something else. Sometimes she wouldn't even. My uncle would try make up for it, noticing that maybe I'm wearing clothes that are not so up to par. He'd just take me away secretly and we'd go and pick clothes and to even out the disparity. Okay, so one instance I remember, I really think that mentioning of Almasis is because maybe that was my worst memory. I come from their place. Their mom had given me a kapas as a gift. I don't remember why, but yeah, they loved me. So I come home and she asks me, where are you from? I tell her, I was just doing homework with so-and-so. And she gets mad. I really don't remember what triggered her, but she gets very mad. I remember her snatching the purse because she saw it in my hands. I never got that purse back. She took it for sure. But she starts beating me up, yeah? She beats me so bad. At one point, she's stepping on me at the corner of the wall and you know, I want to think I must have done something that deserved that anger, but I can't still make sense of it up until now. All I remember is her son stopping her. And in his words, Mami unamuua. And she responds back, afadhali akufe. And you wonder, I really don't get it. Her anger is something I won't ever understand. And that made it hard to just be in that home because she was my saving grace. Was she on my side, so many things would have gone differently. Perhaps I'd have had a better chance at a future. But the one person who was meant to be there for me wasn't on my side at all. And that was through and through. Yeah. So I got to class 8 and I did well, thank heavens. And I went to high school, which for me felt like getting away from them. It felt like a break of sorts. At least I wouldn't be there routinely for the abuse. Huh? Yeah, but then you can only get away enough. Yeah.
So you stayed there until you finished your school?
My class 8.
Class 8.
Yeah, and then now they tried to find me a school that was out of the province. So I came to Gatondo.
Let me cut you short kidogo. According to your ability, you know yourself.
Yeah.
How did you perform in your KCSE? Above average or below average?
You see, God works in ways that sometimes we can never make sense of because I can't really claim it as my capabilities of being good in school through and through, but that's how He made it. That since a kid, I fared well in school, yeah? Which made it kind of easy, I feel, for my uncle to educate me. It gave him a bit of a propel that she's doing well in school, at least, yeah. Let me keep her going. So, at 4th form, I did somewhat shabby because I wasn't even studying. I freaked out a lot. Towards me doing my final paper, I started getting so stressed, just thinking, I'm going back home. I'm going back to them. And these people don't like me. It's not even rocket. And now I have to go back and, oh my. Now, instead of putting in my all, I started slacking. In fact, it didn't make sense. I remember friends of mine waking me up, hey. And at the back of my mind, I'm just thinking, you know what? Whichever way it goes, let it go. Because I just don't even know whether I have anything after I leave here. So it was a B plus of 70 points, 1 point less of an A minus.
Nice. I can say that's quite good. It's a good thing.
We tried.
Yeah. So after Form 4, did you go back?
Yes, unfortunately, yeah. I went to wait for my calling of university. So yeah, I reverted back. And during that wait period is amongst when, now, whatever it was that was going on kind of increased or it heightened. Yeah, because I was back to being a burden just sitting around waiting on your exams. I mean,
After your results were out, so did you proceed to college, university?
So they called me in to Moi for marine business management. And I was looking forward to it. I was pumped for it. Not that I even knew what it entailed because it wasn't by my choosing. Yeah, so as I was waiting, I fell ill. Over those 4 years, I'd been in high school, being that the altitude there was higher and I'd grown in Mombasa, gotten used to the heat and all, I think I accumulated cold. Yeah, so some days some pain just started and it was so bad. But it started gradually, like you're breathing, you feel a sharp pain pierce at the back there. And you think, maybe it's just something, it will pass, a stitch. Oh, and the following day it worsens. And soon enough, I can't even walk or breathe without that pain, you know. So at that point, of course, started complaining to the folks that something is wrong.
Yeah.
But they didn't take it to wait. I remember a week going by and another. By the time the second week came by, I couldn't even move anymore. Whatever it was, it wasn't allowing that I function normally without strain. So now at one point I was just bedridden in my room and you know, the help is wondering, how come they're just looking the other way, nobody's doing anything. So at one point my uncle, I mean, it crosses his mind, hey, I don't see this person who prances around all over. Oh, Ani yuko wapi? Ambia, uncle, auntie, I mean, Ani ni mgonjwa. Si amekuwa mgonjwa hizo wiki mbili. And apparently it hits him like rude shock. Oh, yeah. Ati, you let her know to come to my office. We talk about it. Like, mind you, I can barely move. So I'm to go to his office, we talk about it. Okay, fine, I'll come to your office. So I did. I showed up there and he tells me, you go to, it was a clinic. Okay, growing up in Mombasa, we started off from where I showed up. We lived in an area called Mshomoroni. So I get there, he tells me, you go to this clinic, let the doctor check on you. Like dismissively, but I'm just glad to just get checked out. So I get there, I tell the doctor, and this doctor had seen me through growing up, like since a kid. Hey, Ani, shida ni gani? I just explained to him I'm in so much pain, and it's gone on this long, and yeah. So he does whatever he could because it was a very small clinic. He puts that stethoscope there, does his thing, and he gets alarmed. Hey, he says, I can't do anything for you. And seemingly, kama utapelekwa hosi, na kuogopea, like, vile unapumua, ni kama uko na pneumonia. Hey, at this point, I hadn't experienced pneumonia per se, but I've had hearsays, I've heard of people dying of it. Hey, now I'm freaked out. Like, if these people don't act on it, something bad is about to happen to me. So I tell him and I tell him, I beg him really, you have to write it down and you write it as an emergency because just my word of mouth won't suffice.
So you have to write a letter to your uncle?
Pretty much. Like you have to stipulate that kama huyu hataonekana, this is about to go bad. And he did that. I'm thankful for such people. Like through my life, there have been people who show up and you really feel they stand out. They did something that made a difference. So he wrote it. And I go back to Uncle and I tell him, here it is. The doctor says things are pretty bad. I need attention. He goes like, you go home. I'll come back someday tutaenda hosi. So I head home. Na hiyo siku atajisikia tutaenda hosi. And I stayed. I don't remember how long, whether it was days or a week. I don't remember. But he showed up one day over lunch and he barely got into the house. He just honked from the gate. Ambia ani akuje? Twende hosi. I remember running down, just grabbed whatever dress or... And we went to Aga Khan, because he'd been told it was either Aga Khan or Pandya. Apparently, the ones who would treat it to a T. So we get there, and you're parked, and he looks at me, he goes like, where is that letter that the doctor wrote? And between me and you, was that letter important or vital for my treatment? Or determinant in any way? Like, was it needed that I have that letter?
You should be inside there being checked up.
So my uncle looked at me and said, if at all you don't have that letter, ni kama hauko serious about kutibiwa. And he made a U-turn right there and then. Yeah.
What?
You know, I try to think back of that time where he called me and he tells me, you know, ulikosewa lakini mimi sikukosea. But if we were to now have that conversation and he really gives me the leeway to explain where he failed me, if there was betrayal I felt from him, it began there, yeah? My health was at stake and he just, you know, na akapiga about na tukaenda home.
Au kuingia kwa daktari?
Haya, sisi kuwa serious.
What?
Sasa, I think at that point, kwanza vile uncle alifanya hivyo ndo nilijua, ni kubaya, like this. Now, if my own well-being is at stake na hata hawajali, I'm in a tough spot, like, nilijua sasa, she's gone left. Yeah.
What? So you went back home?
Tukaenda home ningoje Mungu. And you know what? Of miracles I speak about in my life, that's the first time I'd call a miracle happened. But then, nilikuwa at my worst. Mimi nilikuwa naona nitakufa. If there were lows I felt, ni time. Because, kusema kweli nani angenisaidia? Who? Yeah. So, I'd grown up Catholic, but over high school I'd defected and become a Protestant. So I was attending MPC church. But over the time that I was sick, I wasn't attending church as such. I remember I just used to have prayer moments or where I'd meditate or, but speak to God or, And I remember speaking to that maker who made me and said, yenyewe mpaka hapa pale nimefika, it's been a tough run and on my part mimi najaribu. This is hard and kama anaona this is where the journey ends, then he makes it quick because that pain was too much. But then pneumonia hurts. Pneumonia ni uchungu. So I literally made that pack in verbal forms. If at all it's meant to kill me, let it kill me quick. But if I'm meant to go on, it should stop. That pain should stop and I'll up and go. Pale imefika imezidi. Like, I get the point. I'm not wanted. Yeah. So trust you me, niliamka siku moja na nikapumua na hiyo uchungu haikuwa hapo. I didn't take any medicine, sikuenda kwa daktari. Yeah, I think they were waiting for me to die away. Wow. Yeah. I bet they wonder too, like how did she suddenly up and go? Yeah. Because that's the first time I decided, I mean, what are we staying for? Nini? Yeah. Kama naweza kufa wakiniwatch, it's not worth it anymore.
So for how long did you continue staying with your auntie?
So after that sick period and then I get my health back, I started attending church soon as I was on my feet. And then I was told of a girl who stayed out in Nairobi. Her name is Chantel. So that chick, perhaps she could host you, maybe give you somewhere to start off, nini. So basically that's how I got my way into Nairobi. I don't remember the time between me getting healed but I don't think I took too long. I was desperate. I'd gotten that these people don't want me anymore. My time was elapsing about school and they didn't care.
So did you come to an agreement with your auntie and uncle or you ran away?
I up and left. Yeah. After it felt like there was really nothing to stay for, it was in my mind that mine is just to exit. So they really didn't come into play at, oh, I'll let them know, oh, I'm leaving when, no.
You just left.
I mean, how else would I have gone about it?
Like at night, during the day, like I just want to know.
It was at night, and it was, oh my gosh. They had like a place they used to sleep, and so it would be open for the taking on my exit, that they would host me,
Yeah.
get my feet there, and then, you know, on and on and on. Anyways, so the plan is, oh, on such and such a day, at such and such a time, I'll get my bags. We sure make that plan. And
It was a whole plan.
yes. So that day, I didn't even say anything to anyone. I remember the house help just seeing me with the bags leaving, and she's just baffled that ani unafanya nini, and within seconds I'm gone. There was no much of bye or no. And I knew if I took too long and they got there, it would be a whole back and forth, which I wasn't ready for. So I leave, and I don't know whether I even had a phone. I don't recall, but there must have been somewhere I was communicating with a friend. I get there and I start calling them. I call them on repeat. Oh, they're awful. I just remember being stranded with those bags of mine somewhere at a stage, and I'm standing there on end just thinking, wow, I'm out here. There's no way I'm returning back to the house. Now what?
What happened?
Wow. Yeah. So, once again, God. Hey. Okay, people will see me. The things about me, I think, which won't change up until we have gotten. One of them being I'm very social. I'll talk to a stone. If you put me next to it long enough, I'll say something. So somebody saw me stand there for so long. They see me confused. It was a border guy. This border guy, dada, mbona umesimama ni kama umepotea sijui nini. I was thinking, hey, now what? Should I tell him what's going on? I'm risking getting robbed. I don't know what his intentions are. Then again, the night is giving. It's getting late. Where am I?
Where are you going?
Something had to give. I had to explain to him what was going on, even if not in details. But basically tell him I'm stranded. And the person I was meant to meet isn't picking up. So yeah, I'm in the blind. And he tells me, hey, I'm married. I wish I could even help you, but I really have nowhere to take you. Then again, I do have a friend. She works in the night. Perhaps once she leaves, I could talk to her. Lets you rest, and then tomorrow you figure it out. I'm sure in the daytime you can do more than in the night. Like, yeah, that sounds good. I'd be grateful. So he goes into whichever place it was the girl was, tells him whatever he needed to explain. So now he comes for me, and we're meant to go. Oh, I remember this guy carrying me, and we are going endless. We are just on a nodhi end. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if this guy has any ill intentions, this is it. Because we went into nowhere. Like, hey. Na niko na bag zangu mbili hapo zenye. So tunafika hapo, wakatoka na huyo demo wakaongea a bit more. Then I was told to put my bags in, and yeah, but I'm still anxious because, I mean, new environs, I don't know them. And I'm still apprehensive. The girl was a night walker. And
what?
Yes.
Oh my God.
She dresses up and yeah. I sat there on the sofa as she's, you know, getting her stuff on. She tells me she's off. And she'll come later whenever time it is. Okay, I'm just grateful to have somewhere to rest my head. She left. But give it maybe 2 hours ama 3 hivi, akarudi. So drunk, belligerent. Sasa, hey, hata sijui kama anakubali, I mean, anakumbuka hiyo pact ya kuwa ati nafaa kula. Sidhani anaikumbuka ama oh wow. So she comes back entirely different, rather no chills. And in her words, mimi nitakuwaje barabarani, you know? Can't be there hooking myself.
Yet I'm leaving a fellow lady like me
In the-
asleep in, oh my word. Hey. Yeah, and in short, by the way, hakuna vile utakuwa unalala alafu mimi niko nje. Haya. Hit it. Like,
You stepped out with her.
what? And of course, I wasn't like, in fact, he started crying. It became a whole, you know, namwambia yeye basi simpigie mwenye amenileta hapa, at least anikudie hata kama atanirudisha kule amenitoa. It became a whole skeptical by the way.
Yeah.
And in course, you can imagine what happens. People gather. So yeah, the neighbors came out and I have to explain what's going on because now she's gone wild. So the neighbors also backed, fortunately. Yeah, they talked back at her, they put her in her place really. More like, hata kama wewe unafanya hiyo kazi, hakuna vile utachukua msichana mdogo vile wewe unamuona huyo mwingine, umfanyishe hiyo kazi. Like, we are not here for it.
Yeah.
They stood up for me, manzi. Wow. Hey, and the guy was called. That guy, whoever he was, he came back. He also tried to talk her, you know, back into her senses. So she was made to agree to that. Wewe ulikubali she's to spend here, and that's what's going to happen. That's not going to budge, and you're not about to do what you're about to do. Yeah, so Anne slept the night, fortunately.
Wow.
Eh.
You were lucky to see the next day.
Yes, and
What
the following
happened?
day I had to figure out where the hell I'd disappeared to.
And where did you go?
So of my aunt's kids, because by the way, my aunt had 5 children. She had 4 sons and 1 daughter. And when I showed up, I became the 6th once again. I was the youngest. So of the 4 brothers, the last had married a certain lady and then they separated. Now it's the place that I went to because they were already familiar with me.
Yeah.
Regardless that it would be, you know, a tag. Because, it wouldn't look good for them to host me
Yeah.
with an attachment to my folks. But they had also seen everything. So, they were open to it. The mom was like, we can have you around our home up until you know what's happening next. But you have to, you know, stay in secret. They can't be seeing you around. They can't hear that you're around. It will cause us problems.
So how long did it take for you to now get to Nairobi?
Hi. Aki, I can't tell. I'm sorry. So one thing, I was even to have my CV close by because my CV helps me have referrals of around this year this happened and it makes it easier to trace.
Okay.
Yes, but if you ask me the nitty-gritties of time frame, it becomes hard. So I don't remember how long it was, but yeah.
So did you stay for quite some time in Coast before you got to Nairobi?
Yes, a couple of months so. Yeah, they gave me, let's say, a better part of a year.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been past a year, yeah.
And what were you doing during that year?
I could only do enough. I remember trying to apply for jobs, for sure, but not much giving. So just waiting on time to give something to let up.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And now you found yourself in Nairobi after a year or a couple
Yeah,
of months.
give or take.
The same girl, Chantel, hosted you.
Now, going to church and all is how I ran into Chantel. I had through introductions and I explain myself. I tell her I need a starting point and she agrees to it. She tells me she's willing to host me up until I've made sense of Nairobi. Yeah.
And what did you start doing in Nairobi? Where did you start?
In Nairobi, she stayed in Umoja. Yeah. I remember we were living around, I don't know whether they are blocks or something, but I remember we stayed around H, something of that sort. Yeah, and that's where we stayed. She worked in Westgate at the time as a waitress. And she was letting me know of interviews or something I could get to make myself useful. Yeah, she was giving me pointers. She was helpful. Yeah.
Did you secure yourself a job?
Yes. So over that time that I was at Chantel's, one of those days she called me, forwarded me a message. It was an interview to a promotional job.
At the time, I didn't know yet. I don't think I'd attended any other interview apart from that one she called me to. So yeah, I went there. It was in Lavington, I remember. Yeah. Hey, and I remember getting there and getting stunned because in Nairobi, for such things, I think people show up in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I definitely got a culture shock because I was just confused one from Mombasa, and you get there and people are dressed to the nines and and it's like 300 people in a compound. Yeah.
So did you secure yourself a job?
Yes. So out of the hundreds, they needed 20 heads. And I made it for those 20 heads. I remember I was the youngest in that lot.
Ah.
Yeah.
So you started at least getting some money.
Yeah.
So after you maybe got your first salary, did you move out? What happened?
Of course, I had to give it time, save up.
Yeah.
You can't just jump in. And Chantel working in Westgate is the same, around that same time when that terrorism thing happened, the Westgate attack, yeah? So when that happened, Chantel was a victim of that scene. What happened, and I shouldn't be laughing, but she got shot in the butt.
What?
That's why there's a giggle to it. It's not a funny. It's just funny. It's funny in my head and it's funny even. Yeah, so
I'm so
her
sorry.
family
Oh
and
God.
all came for her, and now Anna had to figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
that's when our union had to break because she had to go and be taken care of. Yeah, and I had to carry on with life.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had like a boyfriend who I'd had even since I was in Mombasa. He was in uni, so at that time when it happened, he's like, you can come by and stay as you find your footing so that you save up more, you don't just end up, stranded once again. So we did that. I moved from Chantel's and stayed by them.
So you moved in with your boyfriend?
Well, we had another roomie, so we had like a living situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So from your story, from your upbringing, seems you have faced a lot of rejection.
Oh, yeah, a bunch.
Yeah.
A bunch.
And a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
So now you're here, you've moved in with a boyfriend and stuff, and now it's all on your own, like it's you against the world.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So how are you dealing with this? Maybe sometimes too much stress, anxiety, the traumas hit you, sometimes you want to break down. How are you dealing with it?
Well, I think when they say no man is an island, it's for sure true. You see, when I was getting away from whatever I had perceived as the worst of it, which was my growing up, I felt like, once I'm on my own, perhaps, I'll be at peace. I won't feel the weight as I do. Up until a point, because it catches up with you, and people need people. You need people you can trust. You need people you can lean on. You need people when you can't go on. And I never had that. So often I'd put up a front. More often than not, people think they know me, yet they hardly know me because I don't know who to be. I don't know if you can handle it.
Exactly.
I don't know if you really are ready for me.
Yeah.
And most of the time, people end up feeling like you're fake or like you're not real. Yeah, because you're not giving it your all. I open up until a point. Or I tell you about things and you're wondering, but how come she doesn't see her parents? How come? And I'll never address it because, will you ever make sense of it? Okay. So all that was going on. And you need to work. I'm still thinking I need to fetch a future. I need to find my siblings because we are separated and I don't know where they are. Unfortunately, as a coping mechanism, I got into what, other humans I'd like to think also get into. I used crutches, whether it was alcohol, getting high with friends, or unfortunately, drugs, say weed per se. It used to be a coolant of sorts. Yeah. When I'm feeling like everything is ganging up on me, and yeah, when I don't know who to be, it felt like if I smoke weed, everything comes down and I can face it all. I can be me without all the outside noise. Yeah.
What age were you again when you started using weed? This is after you've come to Nairobi.
Yes. I think it would be around 19. The problem with talking about my age is that we are not even sure how old I am. Yes. So any reference to my age is superficial because they made up my papers. Even when they were imposing those names of, because I took up their familial names, when they were doing that, how they based my age was as a reference to the youngest of their children. It was, oh, in comparison to so and so, you look like you could be this age. It wasn't, oh, best of so I don't know. I can say I started weed after high school, but that would be like a year or two after high school.
Okay, that's so, around 20.
Give or take, yeah.
Okay, so you started weed, smoking weed, nini, all
the
those,
party,
And when you were doing that, you felt a bit better, like the pressure is getting a bit lesser.
Yeah, I felt free.
Yeah.
You see, you know, I'd like to sit down and lie to myself that, oh, perhaps, you know, like, especially the verbal abuse, because my aunt telling me all these things and talking down to me, and at the time I normally felt, perhaps once I get away, it will, you know, once I'm away from her, it will subside. It won't ever matter anymore. And it isn't true in the first place, so it doesn't matter. That stuff hits hard, and that stuff imprints on you. My entire journey, or the entire time I'm living my life away from them, I kept thinking, oh, auntie said I'll die of HIV in a public hospital and she wouldn't come see me. Now, the entirety of my living is trying to think, I have to prove her wrong. That can't happen. But much as I want to prove her wrong, it hurts so bad, because why would she take me in to put me through all that pain? Or So I did those drugs, and I wasn't proud of it. Matter of fact, if I remember that young girl I was, or those dreams I had, I always wanted a whole different life as to what I came to live, to be honest. These drugs, this, you know, this wilding, and it was me running away from reality, me not wanting to internalize that I'm all alone, they don't want me, nothing about my life makes sense. And everybody is convinced I'm okay. In fact, that was the hardest part, because people look at you and, I mean, what is she lacking? She's fine.
True.
So I did those drugs as a crutch to forget, to make it okay that nobody cared about me.
So when you were living with your boyfriend, did he know all this?
Oh, yes. Of wonderful people I've met in my life, him for sure remains a good person, whether we separated or, he saw it all. And as I tell you, he knew me since I was in Mombasa. He's in fact aware of even that period of time when I was ill, like the pneumonia phase. Yes, he'd be aware, and he saw me even during and through it. He tried to be there for me in ways that he could have been. He was such a great guy, to be honest. Big heart. He treated me right. He was kind. I hope he's having a good life wherever he is. Yeah.
What led to your separation?
Hey. I'd call it puppy love. Do they call it puppy love when it's young and naive, or
or rather when you can get to a point and grow out of it.
Yeah. You just outgrew each other.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I wish I could say, oh, I don't know, he did what, and I thought, or no.
You just outgrew each other.
It got to a point where it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I didn't feel the same. And to be honest, I didn't drag him along or lead him on. I told him as it was that I drifted, that the feelings were not there anymore. That was time that we separated.
So after separation, you moved to your place alone?
Yes, that's when I started my life. Yes, I started off at Zimmerman.
How did it feel?
Scary, for one. Yeah, I think scary would be a word that covers it, because, yeah, I was now about to be alone.
Yeah.
Much as I'd be free, or I was alone, really alone. No one to turn to if anything went left.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I had friends, up until a point, and as I'm telling you, I had a hard time opening up fully. So half the time when things were really bad, I couldn't even explain it to those who were around me. Yeah, I felt like it was too much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
so
couldn't handle
scared.
you.
Yes.
So you had to learn to be somebody else. That's why they think you're fake.
Yes. And do you know what? Even right now, as I think back to it, I try to think, would I have done it differently? I still feel I would do it the same way. Because over time, those times I've opened myself to people, or half the time people don't really want to know because they care.
Yeah.
No. Some want to know just for the heck of it. They want the hot news in town, the hot gossip.
The tea.
Aye. Yeah, and you're dealing it as a reality. So yeah.
So you still have the job that you got, and now you're living on your own.
Yes. That first job was a lifeboy job. I remember you used to dress as nurses. Yeah, we did that contract for 3 months. Thereon, I got work on referral. I gave it my best. Every time I showed up for work, I made sure that I leave a lasting impression, have them want you back.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. It was on referrals, and more. I got into events, hostessing. Did that for a very good while. Those were well paying. In fact, those kept me running a good bit.
Yeah.
And thereon, I was seeking more. I wanted to get better, to sharpen me. Yeah.
So all this time, have you thought of maybe visiting a psychologist, a therapist, or you're just okay with smoking weed and you're just okay?
Jeez.
Have you ever thought about all this, the trauma, the rejection, and all this kind of stuff? At some point, you get to a point and you want to heal, and now you have to make a decision of taking that step of going to a therapist. Has it ever come across your mind?
I did. I even sought pro bono services, which we do have, by the way. I've forgotten the tag, unfortunately. I wish I'd mentioned it for anybody else out there who'd need the assistance. Yeah. But I went online seeking that hearing.
Yeah.
It's because I'd made those attempts interpersonally, and they were not as effective, or rather, people can't really give you what you need fully, because that trauma isn't their part for the taking.
Yeah.
They can only do enough. So I found an organization which does pro bono services, and they were doing it to me online, because I think it was around COVID time when I found them. Yeah. Okay. So I couldn't go interpersonally.
So as we speak now, do you still do drugs? It's okay. It's a safe space.
I wish I could say different, mostly because I feel disappointed in self. Very much. I feel like I've veered so far from who I wanted to be. So far, honey. I don't even know whether there's still that better day for me, because I had dreams, I had aspirations. Yeah, and things like maybe seeing my siblings again.
because they're out there. Maybe I don't know if all of them are still alive, or well, I know for sure not all of them are alive, because 2 of them passed on, and in the course of my living, and you'd just be told, oh, Irene alikufa, it isn't your picture, you know, or
And who will tell you this?
auntie. I think when she attended the burial to that sister Irene, it was just Wanjiru alikufa, tulimzika. And I wondered, did it ever cross your mind I would have wanted to be there? Yeah, so such factors not being normal yet, unfortunately can't say I'm free of drugs, because there are times I honestly feel like I'm running out of my mind.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. And every time I try for it to make sense, even in relationships, because after that first boyfriend, I had the hardest time even telling myself to somebody I wanted to be with.
Yeah.
I felt like I was too much, really, as I'm telling you. And what reality do you explain to them? Do you tell them you're Kamau's daughter, or do you tell them that you're an orphan? Or
Yeah.
I even went through a relationship that I was in maybe 3 years or maybe 2.5 years, and I didn't tell them about my reality. I just, you know, I was just the person they needed to see at that time.
And they never asked you about your family?
They did. They tried. In fact, again, another nice guy. Just he was too square, I felt. I felt like if I ever told him my reality, there was no way him and I
Yeah.
go. I felt like he just needed a vanilla girl. Yeah.
All this time, has your auntie or uncle tried to reach out to you?
My uncle did. My uncle did when around that time I was doing that life boy job. He did, and on his part he was saying he felt sure that I was wronged, and that's why he up and left. But he was clarifying, hey, but I didn't do the worst of it. Like, my part in it wasn't so bad that I caused you to up and go.
Yeah.
Could you come back and we talk about school? School was very important to me. Yani, that would be my lifeline. I remember during high school, sorry to take you back a bit, they got lax about paying my fees, and it just became burdensome. I mean, my fees get there and they look the other way. Such that I had to explain to the, well, first of all, I approached a nun we used to have, Sister Kingi. Told Sister Kingi about my crazy tale. Fortunately, she had me out, like really, because, do you know, she didn't even ask at oh, prove it that, oh, they're not your parents. Some really had me out and presented me to the principal. We all had a sit down. Then I spilled it out as it was, yeah? In short, they put me on a bursary undercover because we couldn't tell my relatives, my aunt and uncle. They never got found out. The sisters, because it was a non-organization, they pretty much paid for that fee through my high school, as uncle and auntie paid whenever they felt like, because I mean, for them,
Yeah.
and it never crossed their mind that, oh, somebody else is doing. I was never sent for fees again, even when they did late, they never asked. Now, you can imagine, after high school, there was an overpay because the nuns were doing their part a good bit, so
Yeah.
they take the overpay without even questioning.
Where the money has come from?
Yeah, but they enjoyed the overpay because they reverted it back after high school. If you had an overpay, it was given back.
I'm now concerned, like when growing up, what was your dream? What did you want to become?
I remember my aunt asking me that sometime I was, don't know, doing her hair, whatever it was I was doing, and she asked me, ani na wewe unataka kukuwa nini? And I told her I wanted to be a psychologist. I remember just saying it that way, yeah? yani, I couldn't do no right, to be honest. I just had to go per the program. Now, I felt my struggles plus everybody else who is going through a worse time in life. Hey, people need people to talk to. Most of people who want to be there for those people. So I told her that. Told her I wanted to be a psychologist. And I remember her shrugging it off or talking it down to, hey, but psychologists hata huwa hawapati pesa. And sasa hiyo ni kazi gani? Kenya, you know.
Kenya hiyo kazi hailipi.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, what are you going on about? Said, but hiyo ndo mimi nataka. Fast forward, her daughter is doing psychology.
What? Up to now, how do you feel?
Hey, life is a lot. Life is a lot because it's a good reason why I'm doing this. It's because I feel like I need to talk about it to be free. In self to feel like I've been living a lie, to be honest, because at half the time nikitembewa sijui mimi ni nani pase. Yani my roots are not grounded in anything and anyone. I can't base me on anything, and I've been ditched into the world. So things, much as I tried or I've been trying, it's a vicious cycle of I go and return. There's always a pullback, and I can only do enough on my own. So it hasn't been easy, far from it. So many struggles, especially relationship-wise.
How many relationships have you been in?
I've been in 3 relationships. Yeah, 3. Yeah, long term. Yeah, and I'd say I'm in, I'm not sure, 4th. Yeah.
Do you feel
give
like,
or take?
Okay. Do you feel like these relationships come to an end because of the things that you go through? You don't know who you are at some point. Is it because of that?
To be honest, yes. A big bit of why I feel I fail in my relationships is what makes me. I almost feel like I don't deserve love because those who should have don't love me. And I'm constantly feeling like I'm too much. Like when I voice what I need, perhaps I'll push toward and the person will leave. Yeah, I just feel like they can't fully accept me if they knew the gravity of what I am. And it sucks to feel like I'll never have a sense of belonging because I wanted it so much. I wanted it so much. I feel bad that it had to happen that my siblings and I separated, because even if situations were so bad, like maybe if we couldn't get by with the needs and all, but we'd have each other. I try to think maybe things would have gone different if I stayed back, but maybe this is how it was meant to happen and this is where we are. I just wish I could understand me.
Have you tried to look for your siblings, the remaining ones?
I did. I tried even ask the very people I grew up by, yeah? And often when I ask her, because it's my aunt I refer to, it's vague answers I get. Wako Nairobi, sijui, unajua wana simu, kuna aunti yako fulani, shika namba, ujaribu kumpigia, lakini yuko off. Over COVID time, I kept trying that number that she gave me because amongst the times I returned back home, there is that time I returned after my dad calls me back for school. There's another time I returned on my own accord because things got out of hand.
Yeah.
Now, one of those times she'd given me that number that I'm telling you. Kwa unaipigia tu ile siku itakuwa on ni auntie yako. Ati ni kama brother yako yeye upitia hapo. So over COVID, when the walls are closing in, oh my God, I think at that point maybe I'd gone maybe 3 days or 4 days without food. I was in the darkest of moments. And I called that number off the blues. And it went through. I remember whether I was in tears or whichever mood I was in, I felt elated. There was a sense of, imeingia. Oh, and I talked to her, auntie, nini, and she's shocked. Ani mgani? I describe it. And sure enough, she is my aunt, a sister, I think, to still my mom. I don't know what born. Na umekuwa wapi? Sijui nini. I'm like, nimekuwa tu, si... Okay, I try to catch her to pace of where my life is at. And so I tell her how I ended up with her number. And she tells me, but unajua auntie alisema ati wewe ulikuwa mang'aa tu siku moja ukaamka ukaenda. Kwa unataka kwenda shule. Kwa sababu ndugu zako walikuwa wanakuulizia, walikuwa wanauliza ulienda wapi, walikupeleka wapi. Akasema wewe uko unataka shule ukatoka
What?
My dear, I tried to go to school even after I left home. I tried so hard. Do you know, so hard? At the time, I think Joho was the governor. Around the time that I would have attended school. Or if not governor, he'd be ahead of something. And they were claiming, the bursaries, if you get a hearing with him, he might just... At that point, I am Kikuyu. Well, according to my papers, I'm Kikuyu. I don't know, left from right, like in Coast, because he's Coastarian. Apparently, there's preferential treatment when it comes to these things. And yeah, I'm not from the Coast, so it was a long shot on my part. So that went into the water. But I tried go to Aga Khan group of schools. A friend of mine had an aunt who used to work there. So I explained to her, I remember I had to explain to Bryna early on about my life, even when I'd kept so secret about it. So I told her like things are really bad and these ones I've decided school is not for me anymore, but I don't want to miss out on school. So she tells me of that aunt who worked in Aga Khan. I don't remember her position, but she used to present my papers to people who would have a look at them and see whether I could have a slot. So that's what happened. And they were considering me up until literally every sponsorship or bursary organization, the serious sort that is, they always conduct a background search. So that's what it came down to. They have to certify you are a needy case. Now, Aga Khan group of schools stipulate it as a must do, like they will come to the villages or whatever they have to. Now, what villages was I taking them to if I'm a rich man's daughter? So that journey ended there pretty much. Yeah.
So you told your auntie about that?
How?
The number that you called, that you were given and it went through?
Now, what auntie?
The auntie mwenye ulipewa namba yake, anakuambia ati auntie yako alisema we ni mang'aa uliamka tu kaenda. Ulimwambia history yote.
I tried now get her to pace of they threw me in the blind and it's really not my doing. Okay, on my part sure I up and left, but things had really gotten so bad. True. I couldn't deal anymore. And the version they're giving is not real. So she hears me out, but then on her part, for sure, she's going through the struggles and whatnot. So she says, Aki mimi nakuhurumia kwa sababu kweli wamefanya vibaya na wamechanganya maisha yako. She starts asking, you couldn't have gone to the chief or something, like si ungejaribu upate watu wakusikize ndio usomeshwe yani kwa sababu, She also realized that without education, my life wouldn't amount to much. So she was also insisting that, things are bad, but what to do? I can't help you much.
And that kept happening through life, that people were around it, they could see it was bad, but the people who were with me were holding the power, so everybody else had to fall away.